Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business since 1994. Today, I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest tips that were given to us by my last 2 guests, Dr. B, Sanderbue Cannon, and Dr. Delysha Haynes, and she's also an author. They gave some tips that I thought I would expound upon a little bit today. And so listen up. First, let's thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They primarily work up in Ormond, at least Jonathan does, but he wanted me to mention that they do go everywhere. So if you're looking to sell your home or buy something new, give them a shout. I absolutely vouch for them. They can be reached at thegildengroup.com. All right, so I think all of these tips given by our 2 physicians were great tips. And I think what I like most about them is they were the tips they personally use for themselves, what helps them. So I'm going to go in order of how they were on the show. So Dr. Haynes was 2 Fridays ago, and we spent most of the time on mental health and the importance of mental health. And I think the biggest tip, she gave many, so if you haven't heard that show, please go back and listen to it. But I think the one that really stood out, that there's a lot of meaning to in the health and fitness, in the fitness area, is when she said that she's got to fill herself up and then give from her overflow. So fill herself up first and give from her overflow, because if she doesn't, that is a recipe for burnout. And I think that is absolutely a great tip. It comes up so much in this industry. We have so many people that say things like, well, I want to take the time to work out, but then I feel like I'm being selfish, or I feel like I should be doing this with my time, or so-and-so is expecting me to do this. And I think we have to remember that we're not being selfish by taking care of ourselves. We're not. Matter of fact, we're being unselfish by taking care of ourselves, because then we're able to take care of somebody else. If we aren't taking care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to extend that to help another person out. And so often I hear that as a reason why somebody shouldn't go to the gym first thing in the morning, or somebody shouldn't go to the gym in the afternoon, or somebody shouldn't go biking with their friends on the weekend, because there seems to be a lot of, well, I feel like I'm being selfish for taking time out. And, I'm not in the business to try to figure out people's true motivations. So one could ask, it's like, well, is that really a concern, or is that an excuse? Because, look, there's both. I've been doing this close to 30 years now. And, obviously everybody's human. So there's both. Sometimes it's just a matter of somebody really doesn't want to do something. Maybe they don't want to eat a certain way that they know is best for them, and they can scapegoat their spouse or their kids by just simply saying, well, then I'd have to, make them eat it. So sometimes it is an excuse, and there's nothing I can do about that. That's not my business, and, I can't try to predict that. And sometimes it's legitimate, and so I want to focus a little bit on the legitimate side, like that's a concern. And for those people that think that way, I just think it's very important to remember what Dr. Haynes said, that you got to give from your overflow. I know for me that I'm not myself really unless I get in a good workout in the morning. Sure, I'm sure I'm going to rebound if I don't get my workout in, but I like to get it in, because then I feel like I'm so much better prepared to handle people, to handle things that come up, to be kind, to not be as moody, to not be as grouchy, whatever. If I haven't gotten it in, then I'm not as able. I mean, I'll get there, yes. But for me, it's very important, and it isn't being selfish at all. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. I mean, by doing that, we are setting a great foundation for anybody that's relying upon us. We're taking care of ourselves, and we are setting an example. It is critical. So for those of you that are battling that, just remember, it's unselfish to put yourself first. I can use the thinking that they use in the 12 Steps programs with Alcoholism or Narcotics Anonymous, and they say to be of service to others, to help other people get sober, you have to be sober first. I mean, doesn't that just make sense? I mean, you're trying to help your spouse get sober, meanwhile you are drinking. I mean, obviously that doesn't work, right? So, I mean, they know, well, in order for me to be a beacon of light for somebody else, I have to do it myself. I have to be sober. I have to show the way. So that just can be applied to everything. All right. Now let's move on to our second guest and tip that we got last week. Yes, it was last week. Dr. Sanderbue Buchanan. She gave two. I put them in our emails. So if you're not getting our emails yet, please go to the website and subscribe. We give a daily email, and it's nice and short and sweet and to the point. We put tips in there every day. And she gave two tips that worked for her. So she has lost 40 pounds since January. She was already in good physical condition, meaning that she worked out, she was healthy, she was on crew. But she felt like she was carrying around way too much fat. So she has lost 40 pounds. She looks phenomenal. And I asked her, so what were your top two tips? So her first one was to not eat any foods out of a box. And I found that to be very interesting. So think about that for a minute. Don't eat foods out of a box. So if we're not eating out of a box, what are we eliminating? We're eliminating a lot of ultra processed foods, right? And I want to take a moment to clarify that. Now, I'm not saying eating out of a box is entirely bad. There can be good foods in boxes. Again, I'm reiterating points that were made and probably why they worked. And I think it is a great tip. I mean, let's face it, if you're not eating out of a box, you're eating plenty of whole foods that are coming from the earth, right? And I mean, really, it doesn't get any better than that. But we also need to understand the difference in food processing. So there's 4 different levels of processed foods. So at the lowest level of food processing, we call that ultra processed foods. And ultra processed foods have more sugar put in them on purpose to make you want to eat more. They have more fat, same reason, and they have more salt, same reason. So those are the types of foods that we can really overeat and do damage to our health and fitness because they're so easy to eat a ton of. So think chips, crackers, candies, soda, things like that. Then at the opposite end of processing, there's things like olive oil. I mean, olive oil is a healthy food. I mean, you don't want to drink a whole bottle of it, of course, because it's still high in calories, but it's a healthy food. But that's considered processed, right? It's not like you squeeze the olives yourself. So there's different levels of processing that you need to pay attention to. I don't tell people not to eat processed foods because, number one, you can't. I mean, in a world, how are you going to do that? And number two, I don't necessarily know that you need to do that. I do believe in not eating ultra processed foods for the most part. I always say try to eat 80% healthy 80% of the time. Don't have to be perfect, but if you're looking for something to really cut back on, it would be ultra processed foods. And by the way, that can be deli meats as well. That's just not grains and things. That can be deli meats. Those are ultra processed. Many of them, not all of them. Again, do your research. But Dr. B says she did not eat out of a box. It has helped her tremendously. All you have to do is check out our Instagram account. You can see kind of some befores and afters. It's amazing. And again, she was already healthy. Now she is just flat out ripped. All right. Her second tip is another one that I really, really like. It might be my favorite tip of all because my favorite tip of the three. Hard to say, but I love this tip, and it is exercise in a manner that you enjoy. And that is so important. Look, I'm not saying every moment of exercise is fun. Like if you're totally having fun every time you lift weights, you're not pushing yourself to fatigue. So that's not what it means. But what it does mean is pick things that you actually like to do. If you try to force yourself into doing something that you heard is absolutely best, you're just not going to stick to it. It is not going to work. And even if you do it, you're going to do it pretty half-assed because that's just human nature. We tend to do things we like, and we tend to do things we're good at. That is absolutely human nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. So her examples were she likes crew. So she's really into crew. She's been into crew since I've known her. She gets up 3 early mornings a week before the sun's even close to being up, and she does 90 minutes out on the river. She enjoys it. She likes it. That's a sport that she absolutely likes to do. She also quoted that she likes working out with us here at the gym, and she likes lifting weights at the Y or at home. So, in a nutshell, she likes crew, she likes weightlifting, she kind of likes cycling, so she'll do that a little bit, but she does not like running. She doesn't like it. Now, that's important to really understand. If you talk to most people, they're going to say, oh, I heard running's the best. Well, it's the best if you like it. It's the best if you can do it. And crew's the best if you like it. And cycling's the best if you like it. So the heart isn't prejudiced. It doesn't care what you use to get it elevated. It does not understand such things. I mean, yeah, weight-bearing exercise is going to burn more calories than, say, non-weight-bearing exercise like cycling. But that doesn't mean cycling's bad or inferior. It just means you might have to cycle a little more. And anybody I know does anyway. So, don't worry about what you've heard. Focus on movement. Focus on 2 main types of exercise: movement and strength training. What do you like to do to move? Do you like to walk? Walking is phenomenal. It is so underrated. So many people tell me they end up not walking because they heard running's better, and if they're not going to run, why walk? That is such a simplistic kind of self-defeating attitude. It's like, don't worry about that. A mile is a mile is a mile. Go walk if you like to walk. Hike if you like to hike. Bike if you like to bike. Run if you like to run. Jog if you like to jog. Find what you like to do. Find sports you like to do. Many sports have a fitness component to it, right? Tennis and pickleball, you're moving quite a bit. Golf, you're not. Doesn't matter. What do you like to do? Do it. Strength training wise, what do you like to do? Do you like to go to the gym and be social? Go to the gym. Do you like private one-on-one sessions where it's less social? Go to a trainer. Do you like to work out at home? Work out at home. Where are you going to be your best? That is really what is critical. We're going to put so much more energy, and the motivation is going to be so much higher if we follow that mentality. And I promise you, from somebody who has studied this stuff, there is no perfect way. There is no best way. There's all these different set programs, all these different exercises you see, all these different things. None of them are the best. The absolute best is the one that you're going to stick to. And you're going to stick to something that you like. And if you're listening to this going, I don't like any of it. Okay, what do you least hate? Because you do have to do it. I mean, you do have to do it if you want to be as healthy as you can be. So if you really hate it that much, you ask yourself, what do you least like? I hope that's not too many people like that, because I just really think you're potentially missing out on some real good out there. But if that is the case, think, what do I least like? All right. Now, let me thank our second great sponsors, Daytona Beach's own overhead door company. I know Jeff and Zach Hawk, the owners, very well. I personally vouch for them. They give you the best customer service and the best garage door. So if you're interested, look them up. Daytona Beach, overheaddoor.com. scratch that, overheaddooردaytona.com. See you next time.